ridden some of the worst dirt bikes that have ever been built. But there's one notorious machine that I've been avoiding until now. Today I complete the gauntlet. Today I ride the 1981 Honda CR450 Elsinore, the bike that they call the worst Honda ever made. But can it truly be that bad? And how does it stack up against the other bikes in the Hall of Shame? My mission in this video is to find the answers and settle the debate once and for all. After I've ridden this bike, I'll be able to compare it against the other machines in the Hall of Shame, and I'll be in a unique position to officially crown the worst dirt bike of all time. Let's do it. Over the past few years, we've been able to ride and feature some of the most interesting bikes from motocross history, and we're always on the hunt for the next story to tell. In my research and my deep dives into motocross history, I regularly stumble across the numerous videos and articles talking about the worst dirt bikes that have ever been made, and of course I find them fascinating. But no one actually seems to ride these bikes in those features, and maybe that's for good reason. But nevertheless, I've made it a personal mission to try and ride as many of those bikes as I can possibly find. In 2023, I had the chance to try out the Cannondale MX400 from 2001, which was a machine so disastrous it sunk the entire company. Later that same year, we went out and bought a 1971 Suzuki TM400 Cyclone, which is known by many, including me, as the most dangerous dirt bike of all time. Fast forward to 2024 and another one of the contenders came my way. I was able to buy the bike that is known as one of the most hated motocross bikes, and that's of course the 1997 Honda CR450, the first aluminium framed Honda and the bike that caused the breakup between Jeremy McGrath and Big Red. So yeah, that's a pretty notorious list, but there was one machine missing from the Hall of Shame, one bike that came up again and again in all of those different lists and articles. This bike right here, the 1981 Honda CR450 Elsinore. So you know we had to go out and buy one. We bought this bike at the start of the year, and I've already made a video about why it was so hated. But I'm yet to actually test it for myself and feel what it's like to ride. But in short, this is why it was reviled upon release. Power-wise, it was lacking compared to the other big bores in the class. Power delivery was so different to the Yamaha and the Mako. The gearbox was all wrong, the clutch was unreliable, it was super heavy and the suspension wasn't great, resulting in scary head shakes all around the track. And apparently the frames cracked, the base gaskets blew and the airbox was terrible, which is absolutely fantastic news for me. They said that the power was like a light switch and totally unpredictable. You had to respect this bike because it certainly didn't respect you back as the rider. To sum up how bad this bike was back in the day, Honda went straight back to the drawing board immediately after its release. They had to redesign the machine and fix all of its problems, and that rarely ever happens. It certainly didn't happen with any of the other bikes in the Hall of Shame. So yeah, it's safe to say this thing has a terrible reputation, and after reading some comments under our first video about the bike, it's safe to say I'm a little nervous about riding it today. If you watch the channel regularly, you'll know that we only work with brands and companies with products that we genuinely use and love, and Seat Concepts is one of those companies. You can see I've got a brand new Seat Concepts seat on Kong here, and it's looking sweet. The seats are handmade in the USA and they are shipped worldwide. You can get them in different shapes, colours and heights, and they really give your bike the pro finish. I've got them on pretty much all of my bikes now and I genuinely love them. So if you're interested in picking up a new seat, check out Seat Concepts. Their link is in the description down below. So to help me in my mission today, I've come up with 3 tests which will allow me to compare this machine to the other bikes in the Hall of Shame. We'll have a power test, a handling test, and then one final challenge to end the video. Once we've done all of those tests, I'll be able to compare this bike against the rest, and I'll be able to rank them in order of bad to downright terrible. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Let's try and get the bike started. That'll be my first mission, and then we'll hit the track. Let us know if something comes out, Dan. Let's give this a go. Let's do it. Whoa, this feels very, very weird. Okay, so before we get started on these tests and challenges I've set up for myself, I'm just gonna warm up a little bit and get used to the bike, because I've never ridden it before in my life. So we just need to run it in a little bit and check all the nuts and bolts after a little bit of a session. Oh my good lord, the brakes are shocking. Oh no! The brakes are so bad and the suspension is so soft. Oh. You've got to really stamp on that brake, man.
It was a steady start, but I was slowly building up my confidence on the bike, ready for the tests.
Oh, I hit a jump! These foot pegs are tiny! It puts you so far forward in the seat hitting that back brake. But power doesn't feel too bad. Oh, that front suspension is awful. Bloody awful. Oh, another jump.
My confidence was building, but this shakedown was about to take a dramatic and potentially disastrous turn.
That's my fault. Oh my god! That was not good. What the hell was that?
Yeah, it looked like we had a serious mechanical issue here. The throttle was sticking, which is not good news for the test. We need to get this fixed. So we're pushing the bike back to the paddock, which I'm sure is a familiar sight for many vintage motocross riders out there. The walk of shame. Let's see if we can get this bike fixed and back up and running. We tried our best, but eventually we had to call in the big guns. Roland Shaw from Hardcore Racing arrived to save the day. He worked his magic, and fingers crossed the bike was back up and running and ready for the tests.
Okay, let's try this again. As you saw, we had a bit of a problem there and the throttle stuck open. We've had a look at the carb and hopefully we sorted it. So this is take two. I'm not gonna lie, the butterflies are going now after that. See if I can survive a ride. Let's see if the bike can survive a ride. Cool, let's go.
This video has been sponsored by our friends at 24MX. 24MX have you covered for all of your paddock essentials. So head over to the website to pick up your bike stands, your fuel jugs, your tie downs, your chairs, your loading ramps and your race tents. Head over to the 24MX website, grab yourself some paddock essentials. They've always got some great deals going on. As always, a massive thanks goes to 24MX for supporting the channel and helping us do what we do.
So test number 1 today is going to be a power test. Contemporary reviews of the CR450 said that power was like a light switch and so different from the big bores of the time that riders were used to, bikes like the Mako 490 and YZ465. But how scary can it be really? There's only 43 ponies to play with here. Modern 450s, we're looking at north of 50 horsepower. And can the power delivery be more unpredictable than the Suzuki Cyclone? Power delivery on that thing was terrifying. It sounded like the devil and went like a bat out of hell at the most unpredictable moments. So that's what I'll have in my mind as we hit the track for this test. I've picked out a couple of the fastest sections here at Buttercup Farm. We've got a couple of fast straights here. So I'm going to hit those now and see how the bike performs at speed. Let's see how fast this thing is. Let's hit the track.
So the first section I tried was this fast sweeper into the longest straights on the track, and I have to say the bike felt awesome. The power was so usable in this deep loamy soil. Then I went to a tighter corner into a fast straight. There was no unexpected hits. And then finally I hit the long straights at the finish line. I didn't feel like the bike revved out or anything. And I didn't experience any head shakes. Overall, in terms of power and power delivery, I was pleasantly surprised. The only thing I did notice was that the gear change from second to third, I had to be very careful and precise with that gear change. But overall, the power on the CR450 Elsinore surprised me.
Power is one thing, but let's face it, most riders are never going to get the full potential out of their bike on a motocross track. In my opinion, a more important aspect of whether a bike is great or terrible is how it handles. Can you turn it? Does it stop? Is it a comfortable ride? Reviews of the CR450 said that it was actually a decent handling bike in the turns, and we'll find that out soon. Unlike the 1997 CR250, however, which was absolutely hated upon release. Riders at the time thought it was way too stiff and incredibly harsh. But how does the CR450 compare to that machine? I've picked out a couple of tight and twisty bits here at the track. So let's start her up. Let's find out how she turns. Oh my God! The brakes are so bad. It feels good in the turns. It actually feels decent in the turns.
I felt the bike was actually pretty manoeuvrable in the turns and fairly nimble. As I said earlier, I didn't experience any head shakes, and that big comfy seat did make the bike feel very different to the modern machines that I'm used to. But you can see here, the bike looks so good in the turns, especially these big bowl berms here. I didn't feel out of control or nervous in the corners. Like I said, the main thing holding the bike back so far were those terrible brakes.
Most people can get over a lack of power or a bike with subpar handling, but no rider can forgive a machine that is either so unreliable it makes every trip to the track a living nightmare, or so dangerous that it makes every ride a fight for survival. If we're being honest, those are the two factors that result in a bike ending up in the Hall of Shame. Both the Cyclone and the CR250 had their reliability issues, and I've heard horror stories from owners of both of those machines that narrowly escaped from their murderous machines. But I'm sure no other bike in history had a worse reputation in terms of reliability than the Cannondale MX400. That thing was as temperamental as they come, and with a bunch of new age and innovative technology, it was kind of to be expected, to be honest. And out of all of these machines, the Cannondale is the only one that actually tried to kill me when I rode it as well. Oh, me. Oh, Jesus Christ. So in our final challenge today, we'll be testing for reliability and we'll be testing the danger factor too. Can I string together 3 sprint laps without the bike trying to kill me? And will the bike survive 3 hard laps here at the end of the day? I'm on the start finish line at Buttercup Farm, ready to do 3 hot laps on board the CR450. Wish me luck, this might be a wild ride. Let's go. See if we can survive 3 laps on the old beast. Nice and easy to start.
I said these were going to be hot laps, but I was taking a slow and steady approach to begin
Just
with.
want to be as careful as I can with the bike. It was very fragile, man.
After all, these were my first full laps with all of the jumps after we made that fix to the sticky throttle, and it's safe to say I was a little nervous.
I'm riding this like a true big boy. I'm not even touching the gearbox. They said you had to work the gearbox more on this, but screw that for me today. It feels too fragile.
As lap 1 came to a close here, I was starting to build in confidence, and I was ready to step things up as lap 2 got underway.
Just want to be as positive as I can with the gear changes. Seems to be difficult going up. Position of that lever. Oh God, that's scary. Oh God. Right into the corner there. Look, let's try a jump. Oh yeah. We did a jump. We did a jump, baby.
It's definitely safe to say I'm feeling more at home on the bike now, and I'm beginning to trust the machine more and more the longer I spend time on it.
Oh yeah, we're rocking now. Clutch! It's not very nice looking clutch. Ah! Didn't want to stop that time. Oh, that was the... No, something hit my leg, it was a kickstart. Oh yeah, baby!
So I am finally feeling it on board the CR450 Elsinore. I'm feeling the flow, and I'm ready to start pushing it for the 3rd and final lap here in test number 3 today. I wanted to push myself and the bike as hard as I could in this final lap. So let's go for it. Let's see what I can do. There's one more lap to go.
Oh, my feet fell off their bags! Oh, I can't hit the inside there, no way.
I had my head down now, I was focused, and I was finally having fun on board my 45-year-old big bore two-stroke.
Kickstart's come out again, hasn't it?
As these laps came to an end, I was thinking to myself what an honour and a privilege it is to ride these old bikes and review them on the channel here for you guys to watch. What a fun way to spend a day at the track.
Oh, we've almost done it! We've almost completed 3 laps, boys and girls! A miracle! A miracle! Woo! We're going to cross the line! Oh, we've done it! Woo! Oh, yes! Oh, God, that was scary. Right, so I survived 3 laps on the CR450 Elsinore. It was scary. Didn't feel that scary on track. It was more the mental game because that throttle did stick earlier on today, so I had to get past that. On track, you saw, it handled it okay. Didn't really like the jumps. I think I've done some damage to the forks there. We're losing some fork fluid big time, so that's not great. Handled like a dream. The brakes were shocking, so that's what really held it back, was trying to get stopped for the corners. Power wise, it felt good actually, pretty powerful. It dragged me out the corners. I wasn't using the gearbox too much because I was scared of breaking it. Every time I went up, I think from second to third, that was where it felt a bit crunchy, and I really had to try and be positive with that gear change, which held me back in some of the sections. But I tried to use like third gear slog it basically, and it went pretty well. I'm happy with that. I survived the ride. I'm not so sure the bike has survived it as scot-free as I have. So yeah, let's go and rank these bikes. Let's compare this against the rest of the bikes in the Hall of Shame. Where does it end up?
So, after riding 4 of the worst dirt bikes of all time, what's my final ranking? And where does this machine sit in that list? Obviously, coming into today, I had a decent idea of where the other machines might sit on that list. So I was interested to see where the CR450 would lie, where it would mix things up. I've also been trying to decide whether I should just focus on my own experiences or think about what the bikes would have been like to own back in the day. And I've come to the conclusion that I can only go off what I've felt myself, what I've experienced firsthand. I've owned 3 of these bikes, and Guy, who owned the Cannondale, was very open and honest about what it was like owning that machine. So I've got a pretty decent idea of what it was like to live with all of these bikes. So without further ado, let's rank them, let's get this out of the way. We'll start with number 4, which is the best of a bad bunch, and we'll go up to number 1, which is the worst of the worst. Coming in at number 4 is the Cannondale MX400. It was actually an enjoyable bike. Well, at least I had fun on it anyway. Yes, it was super slow for a 400cc 4-stroke, but for my purposes, I didn't mind that too much. It cornered great and handled like a champion. It did try to kill me that one time, which did give it a demerit, but just this once, I can look past that. I know it was probably a right pain to own back in the day. It was super quirky and super weird, and by all accounts pretty unreliable. But the machine that I rode was well sorted and had all of those kinks ironed out, and it didn't miss a beat all day long. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have spent my money on one back in 2001, but I think the whole disaster around the motorcycle project that sunk Cannondale as a company ultimately tarnished the MX400 a little unfairly. Its reputation is worse than the actual ride, in my opinion. At number 3, we have the Honda CR450 from 1997. As we know, this thing was hated upon release. McGrath certainly didn't like it, and I've spoken to so many people that have nothing but bad things to say about it.
But as a modern rider, I actually didn't mind it. Yeah, it was stiff, and yes, it was vibey, but it wasn't awful. It definitely wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. The Cannondale actually used a very similar frame to this, but I think by 2001 it had been refined a little, so overall that was a more comfortable bike for me to ride and perform better in the turns and around the corners. I think over the years we as riders have gotten a little more used to what aluminium bikes feel like and ride like, so going back in time to try the first alley frame bike wasn't too much of a shock. The CR250 has aged well. Our CR250 though did cause me some serious mechanical headaches. It was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, and that has left a sour taste in my mouth. And for that reason alone, it's one of the worst bikes that I've personally ever owned. So there's only 2 spots left now, and it's between the Cyclone and the Elsinore. Coming in at number 2 is the 450 Elsinore. As you saw earlier in the video, we had some mechanical issues and the throttle did stick open. We got it fixed and I was able to hit the track and do some clean laps, but the entire time I was absolutely pooping my pants thinking that the throttle was going to stick open again, which didn't make it an enjoyable ride. If I look past that, power delivery, it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. It was actually pretty usable out there in those deep loamy conditions today. And in the turns it actually felt pretty nice. I enjoyed it in the turns. Suspension was terrible. As you saw, we had some issues with that after 3 laps. Comparing it to a modern bike, it was obviously pretty alien to me, but I got used to it after a while. The brakes were terrible, way worse than the Cannondale and way worse than the CR250. For those reasons alone, the Cannondale and the CR250 are miles ahead of this. Bikes developed so quickly through the 80s that you can't really say a machine from 97 or a 4-stroke from 2001 are worse than this. You just can't, in my opinion. As a motocross bike, that is way more difficult to ride, way scarier to ride, way harder to tame. But what the 450 did provide was that raw 2-stroke power that did put a smile on my face. I had fun out on the track when I could get over the fear that I had with that sticky throttle, which I cannot say I had for the number 1 bike on my list, the TM400 Cyclone. The TM400 Cyclone is the most alien motocross bike I've ever ridden. You can't even really call it a motocross bike, can you? That bike predates what I know to be motocross as a sport. It was the hardest bike to tame out of the lot, and I felt like I could do myself some serious damage on it, that's for sure. It still blows my mind that DaCosta and his teammates rode those things for 45 minutes around tracks like Hawkstone Park. I just don't know how they managed it. And for me, our bike felt pretty delicate. I was scared of breaking it, and it was a total pain to start. Actually way more difficult than the CR450, to be honest. And that's got a left-sided kicker. But on the positive side, the Cyclone did look gorgeous. It was an awesome museum piece and has such a cool history to it. If you just leave it in the man cave and stay away from the track, you're golden. You just can't compare it to the more modern bikes in terms of enjoyment. I'd ride the 450 every day over the Cyclone. The Cyclone was truly a violent ride and not much fun whatsoever. I think the only people that bike would appeal to are the guys looking to relive their youth, or riders that are an absolute glutton for punishment. Without a doubt, the Suzuki Cyclone was the worst, scariest, most difficult bike I've ever ridden. But man, I'm proud to say that I owned one and I rode one. So we've done the test, I lived to tell the tale, I survived the ride on the CR450 Elsinore. And that's it for the story. This is one of the nicest examples of one of the worst bikes that you could ever wish to own. And we're going to be putting it up for sale after this video. So if you're interested, drop me a message on Instagram. This could be yours. The CR450 Elsinore from 1981. A unique piece of motocross history, even if it is a bit of a beast on the track. As always guys, my name's Max. You've been watching 999 Laser. Till next time, I'll see you at the track.